Good afternoon. I'd like to call this special meeting of the Cobb County Board of Elections and Registration to order at 4 p.m. At this time, I'd like to invite all who are willing and able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Stacey, do you mind taking note? I think our first order of business today is to approve the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And it is approved. Our agenda, the first order of business is our director's elections report. Over to you, Michael.
There was a delay last time, so I just want to be sure. Just double check insurance.
Hopefully everybody online can see.
Hope so. Oh.
This is your sharing.
Yeah. Interesting. It was different last time. There we go. Guess you got to double click it. All right. Good afternoon, board. I'm not feeling great today, so I'm sorry if I'm not as hipper as I normally am.
All right.
Okay, so we'll get started with our results for advanced in person or early voting or AIP. So we had a grand total of 5,490. As you can see from the statistics, that overlap week was by far the busiest as we anticipated. Did not think it was going to drop off so drastically, but here we are. It's been a lot of voting. Closer we get to the holidays, people have other things going on. But week one was definitely the most busy and the most complicated and the most confusing. And then the following 2 weeks, it was a lot smoother of a process. I know we mentioned this previously at the last board meeting or the one before that, but we probably will not be using Taylor Bronner House again. It was a last minute thing. It's just too small. So we'll be sure to look at locations that can hold a little bit more voters, more equipment. But 5,490 was our total. Absentee by mail. So we had 42 between regular and provisional. I believe it was 40 regular and 2 provisional. 41 were accepted, 1 was rejected. That 1 rejected was the one from the pre-cert, or no, I'm sorry, from election night.
Right.
Where I believe they were missing their driver's license. So they had until 5 o'clock last Friday to cure it. It did not. So it was initially rejected and it just was never accepted after that. Okay, so our official and complete results. For election day, ballots cast 3,814. We have not received no inks numbered list yet, so we are going off the Jarvis credit history report. Now you'll see it's off it by 1, a discrepancy of 1. So 3,814 to 3,815. We did do a lot of research today. I got really in the woods with a lot of the paperwork. So we went through all the voter certificates and we did identify in findings 03, there's one more voter check-in than there are scanned ballots. Don't really have a reason how that happened. I know there was some poll pad issues. I know there were some voter certificates that didn't print, and then there were some weird things going on where they printed again, so there were several duplicates. But we did identify the voter on the credit report that we do not have a voter certificate for. Not really sure how that happens. I think what we're gonna have to do is, one, we're gonna have to really talk with Knowing to kind of understand what's going on with these poll pads. The second too is I think we need to revisit our training on the poll pads and how our staff uses it. There were a lot of notes on weird discrepancies, things that happened on election day, and we can only assume what they're trying to tell us off of what's written on the piece of paper. And at times, it's hard for them to describe what they're trying to describe to us. So I think we need to have kind of a come to Jesus moment and just truly try to figure out what's the root of this problem here. Because for an election this small and slow, there shouldn't be any discrepancies, really. There's not room for discrepancies in any election, but definitely not one that's on the slower side of things.
I will say though, just from my experience, with a additional voter check-in than a scanned ballot, it's not uncommon at the poll for people to walk off with
Sure.
a ballot
Mhm.
that they didn't want to put in the scanner, or they don't understand the process.
Mhm.
That might go back to sort of an education component at the scanners, but we can't force somebody to put the printed ballot in the
Absolutely.
scanner.
Mhm.
And I've been there myself with people who have not wanted to do that. So I can say that that's, in this instance, it's usually the other instance where it's a little bit more concerning, but this instance,
Sure.
it is usually explainable by
Mhm.
the ballot, somebody not wanting to scan their ballot or
Yeah.
walking out with it.
And that is kind of where we're at. We think maybe that's what happened, but there's no way to truly know. But like I said, in this scenario, it was a relatively slow election, so it shouldn't be that hard to track the voters when they're going to the scanner and when they leave
Right.
and all of that. But we didn't get reports of someone refusing to scan their ballot, so maybe that is what happened. But I don't have a true answer of what took place at this point. We investigated it and we identified an individual that's on the report that there's not a voter certificate.
All right.
I have a question, and realizing that the reports we initially got were days ago.
Mhm.
But on the summary report,
Mhm.
it showed that we had 3,813 checked in. So unless I misread it.
I don't have the
For
old
election
report.
date,
I have the new one. But I have my notes. Don't have that in front of me. I can double check on that, but I don't think that number should not have changed.
That's why I'm raising the issue.
So we can definitely review the last report and make sure.
Okay.
But I don't believe that was the case.
Okay.
Which report are you looking at?
The summary report. Do you have it?
Yeah, this is the one that was on our flash drive. It's the 3814.
Maybe I just read it wrong and wrote it down 13.
Yeah, the only thing that should have changed from that report to this one is the provisions. That is
Okay.
the only thing that-
Right, because on this one, it shows 0.
Mhm. Okay, so moving on to advanced voting. Oh, and for election day, it was 5.24% turnout. For advanced voting, you'll see 4,490 ballots cast, but the credit history report is showing 4,488. And I know I kind of briefly went into this on your flash drives and not on that presentation. So there is one voter that is awaiting credit. So really, it should be, the Jarvis credit report should be 4,489, not 88. The reason why is because we're in a live election, so we can't update that voter yet.
Because of the Marietta election.
Yes,
Right.
but it gets a little more complicated because that voter was registered in Fulton at the time of their election. So we're gonna have to go and communicate with the state on how we handle this, because I don't think it's appropriate that they're able to vote in 2 different elections. So we just want to make sure that we're doing it the right way before we move forward. But once that update happens, that credit will follow them, and then that will go up one,
Okay,
leaving one other discrepancy. So this is the other way around for advanced voting. So we have one more ballot cast and we do check-in.
right,
That's the other version.
that's the odd one.
So I spoke with the AIP division manager or absentee division manager with Marcus, and he's been doing a lot of research on the logs and what happened. He has some ideas, but we truly don't know what happened. It could be a paper jam where the ballot was accepted, they didn't think so, they scanned it again. It could be a series of things, but it's a discrepancy of one at this point. Like I said, there's no room for any discrepancies, but this is one of those things that we really can't explain because we identified it down to, I think the specific day and the specific hour where the numbers went off. But as to what exactly happened, we don't really know. We can't have cameras in the poll and review the footage that way. So
Do we know what precinct it was?
I believe Marcus does have that data. I don't have it in front of me, but he knows, he has.
That's okay, it's probably irrelevant.
So absentee by mail, 41, we're on the spot with that. And then with the provisional, we did have 5 election day that were returned to us. 2 we knew would be accepted at the right time. 1 was up to cure by 5 o'clock on last Friday, and then 2 were rejected. I believe 1 was a voter that's registered in Fulton, so her provisional was rejected. And the other one, I want to say, was a woman that was unsure if she had early voted or not. So to be safe, we let her vote provisionally, and come to find out she did vote early. So her provisional ballot was rejected. So 2 were rejected, 1 was able to cure and it did not cure, and 2 were accepted. So that you'll see on there, 2 provisional ballots.
I have a question about that.
Sure.
If she wasn't sure that whether she voted early or not, could we not tell her that, yes, you did on November 16th, you voted at such and such precinct? We should have been able to tell that from early voting.
So you can usually see that in the poll pad.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from when I've sat there and told people that and flipped the poll pad and shown them, some people still say, I don't know. And we are, at least from my experience with training, we still say, well, the option is for you to vote provisional. We're not going to give you a card, but we can't tell any voter that they can't vote.
And that may have very well what happened. I don't have
Okay.
all the details. I just kind of have a high level of what happened, but I can definitely find out of what was communicated to the voter. And
But the poll pad should have said
Yes.
that it wouldn't allow you to code the card, which is
Correct.
hence why she had to vote
Yes.
provisional. It wouldn't allow you to code the card.
Correct.
So,
That's why just so we make sure that everybody is
Sure.
dealing with it appropriately at the precinct, because I'm not convinced that we always do.
Mhm.
And people walk away with hurt feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of times some voters don't want to believe what we're telling them. And so we always can offer, you can vote provisionally and, explain to them
Yeah,
what the reality is, and just go from there. The point being is just to make sure that they can vote.
yeah, that's right.
So with a discrepancy on election day and a discrepancy on advance voting, that shows our ballot cast for a total of 9,347, while the Jarvis credit report is showing 9,346. That is about all of it. It was a quiet and quick election. I hate that we have any discrepancies in any election, but here we are. Hopefully we can get some of these answers from knowing. I just know there was a lot of calls that day about weird glitches and with the poll pad and not printing and then printing, and I feel like it shouldn't be this complicated. So we'll definitely get some more answers from them. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I just have one comment. As we're moving forward into, as we're looking ahead into the primaries next year, those kind of things, I think, and Debbie and I had talked about this, I think it would be helpful when we're looking at the provisionals. I know that we won't be able to see it at pre-cert, but maybe having a slide that sort of laid out how many provisionals and what the reason codes were for those provisionals, so that we sort of understand what's causing. I think that would be an educational tool for our staff and for us to kind of understand, like, how many of these are out of precinct codes, or how many of these are out of county, just sort of understanding that's sort of the direction we were both going, is understanding what's creating the provisionals.
If I'm not mistaken, that used to be on the AIP reports we got from the Secretary of State when we were still on ENAC.
Yeah, that column isn't there anymore.
No, it is not.
That
And
I know
it was,
as well.
okay, that
Yeah.
was taken out when we switched to, well, it was taken out before we actually switched to Jarvis, but we did switch to Jarvis, and then we never used it because it was so bad in the beginning. Went back to ENET, but somewhere in that time period,
That column.
with the whole provisional column went kaput. I mean, you couldn't see that any were accepted. And I think floating blindly, I'm very uncomfortable with on provisional ballots, and here's why. It's too easy for people to think they were added after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're sitting there and they're looking at the results and it's showing 0 all the way down the line, i.e. the PSC, where we reported 200 provisional ballots, and everybody's going, where the heck did those come from?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Right, you can't get the information. We cannot obtain the information through Secretary of State information. And I do feel like it's an area where it's kind of gray right now, where we can't. I'd like to identify in a better way where our provisionals are coming from and sort of what our reason codes are for those.
My guess is there's no way to enter it into Jarvis.
Is that, I know it's all paperwork at the polls.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're putting that.
And there is a provisional credit module now, a part of Jarvis. I don't.
Right, they were
work in
supposed to
that.
have,
Yeah.
they were
So
supposed to have worked out that.
Talk with Melissa, she'll be able to answer that a little better.
But maybe for, just sort of as we move into, we can start to look at how we're using that portal and how we can report back to the board and the public sort of what's going on with, provisionals in those reasons.
So I've got a question for you, theoretically. I go to one precinct, I do a provisional, swearing I didn't vote before. Then I go to the next precinct and I swear I haven't voted before. So theoretically, I could keep voting. Yeah, that needs to be fixed, I think, on the provisional. Somehow you have to show that credit in Jarvis.
If that situation happens,
It did?
right, but like they do multiple provisionals at multiple precincts, how do they know which one to count as the first one?
They wouldn't for the same, well, somebody who went back to the same precinct and did another provisional the sheriff should be called, but either that or the
Right.
funny part. But
Right,
I'm saying they went to another precinct.
right.
You'd never know.
Well, we would know when they came back to the office and we were in the curing.
Yeah, when we're doing the
So
research.
late.
I mean, they're not getting credit.
Their ballot.
They're not casting their ballot.
But if there's no credit anywhere in Jarvis, how do you know which ballot went first?
That was what I.
Oh,
that's
what you
I
were
was trying-
saying?
Yeah.
You're talking about once the provisional gets back here, which one gets cured? Well, first of all, if somebody's trying to do that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's reporting to the Secretary of State
Yeah.
that they've,
Yeah, we've had to do that several times.
where we have actually reported people. I mean, you can't,
Yeah.
I don't know if we ended up counting those, but I know we've reported those folks who have done that,
Yeah,
whether it was
yeah,
inadvertent.
SEB case or two about people that did that.
Right,
But you could somewhat eliminate that possibility if we had a reporting structure in Jarvis.
right, but because they have until 5 PM on that Friday to cure, we still wouldn't be giving them that
If I
credit.
went to another precinct, it would show that I've already voted provisional. If there was some notification in Jarvis.
You're talking about on election day. Because it will show, like if an absentee by mail ballot was issued provisionally, that does show in the system, or if they did AIP provisional. Those will show, you're just talking about on election day where they couldn't.
No, actually, I was talking about AIP because on election day, I can't go to another precinct.
Well, you can.
Well,
put out a
I
precinct.
can, I can.
BOP.
I could, yes. Okay, that would be a lot of trouble.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I think there is a module in Jarvis.
Mhm.
I know that you can see if somebody gets an absentee by mail provisional, but I think we do just.
Well, by mail, but that's not as concerning to me as going from precinct to precinct. If you can't see it in the system.
You can see if there have been it will say a provisional ballot has been issued for AIP in the system, but not till that comes back and gets, that day, it's paperwork.
Yes, you're proving my point.
Sorry. we've been
It
having
needs to be real time, I think.
That's possible, but that's part of that. We just need to get confirmation of how that looks in the system. But I think the point is, for me personally, I think the board probably needs some insight into the reason codes for why people are voting provisionally, and then if they're rejected, what those rejection reasons are,
Sure.
so that we just
Yeah,
understand.
that's not a problem.
I think that was also part of our conversation about that.
Yeah, and it used to be that way. I don't know if that was I think it was you or right when you came on board.
Yeah, when I came
Well-
on, Dominion was already full force.
Not
so-
Dominion, it was Jarvis versus,
ENET.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
ENET.
yeah. If there is is there any other discussion about the results? Or we're ready to certify?
The only other discussion is, thank you, Michael.
Right.
And your team. That's a big discussion. You all came through beautifully for what you're up against.
Yes. The
Agreed.
team's been working so hard. It's crazy. We're to the point now when we're referring to election, when we say which election,
I think we had that discussion earlier,
Yeah,
where we were like.
it's starting to get really complicated.
they're running
The
together.
team's doing such a good job. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how we're keeping up.
And you're still showing up to work. Thank you to everybody who's still showing up.
And now it appears we're going to have another special
Yeah.
election in Congressional District 14.
All right, well, let's certify this one, get it behind us. You have a motion to certify the results for the November 18th, 2025 special election for Senate District 35 as presented.
I move that we approve and certify the election, November 18th election for Senate District 35.
Thank you.
Second,
It has been moved and properly seconded to certify the election for Senate District 35. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. And with 2 absent, we pass and the election is now certified. Next up is the public hearing. The next item is the public hearing regarding the temporary polling location change for Smyrna 2A for the December 16th special election runoff. I will turn it back over to you.
Sure. So we are requesting the board to approve a temporary change of polling location for Smyrna 2A from the First Baptist Church in Smyrna to the Smyrna Community Center. We had a lively conversation at our last board meeting over this, a little non-traditional, but we made it through. Luckily, Smyrna Community Center was gracious to come to our aid in our time of need. So this location is just 0.3 miles down the road from the church, the initial location. I was looking at it and I think I mapped it down and it's in walking distance too. So I believe it's a 2-minute drive.
We're not able to put this up, are we?
Don't think we have that. We do not have that.
Does the public want to see? Okay. Sorry to interrupt, Michael, go ahead.
That's okay. So with that being said, I know this was the preference of the board, so I hope you still have that same preference. And so it's the office's recommendation for the board to approve the temporary change of Smyrna 2A from First Baptist Church in Smyrna to the Smyrna Community Center.
And this is just for the December 16th
That is correct.
runoff.
That is
for
correct.
Everybody's.
One and done, and back to the drawing board.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve as proposed Smyrna 2A to be combined with Smyrna 3A for the runoff election for December 16th only at the Smyrna Community Center.
Time out real quick. It says public hearings.
Right, I think we have to have the public hearing first.
Oh, we have to hear things. Okay.
I mean, I'm looking.
If anybody has public comment or public hearing on the,
I'll confirm that he's right. You can walk from one to the other very easily, probably faster than you can drive.
Sorry, ladies, I didn't mean to slight you.
and this is not a co-location, correct?
That is
This
correct. This is a relocation.
We're
Yeah.
just relocating this.
Because
one.
remember the conversation was Smyrna Community Center, at the time we had a meeting, they had told you maybe, and then they
Yeah.
weren't even listed as a site until during our.
They were
meeting.
unavailable and now they're available because of the construction. But 3A is a
Where
co-location.
normally there.
That where it used to be.
Okay.
It used to be 3A and then now that's at Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist, which is a co-location with 3B.
Well, okay, in my defense of ignorance,
It's confusing.
I went to our newly laid out website to check that today, and those links are broken. You can't pull up the precinct list in my
I saw
defense.
that, yes.
Okay. Not that that is a defense.
We're
But this
we're working on the.
this particular change is instead of co-locating with the American Legion, which I can't remember which one that was.
6A,
That's 6A.
yes, ma'am.
So we're not co-locating, we're just, because this amount of voters would have been too many at the American Legion. So we're actually just looking at taking Smyrna 2A and putting them at the Smyrna Community Center for this election. So that there's separation between 6A and 2A.
Okay, I could have sworn that the actual memo on this said co-locating. Gotcha.
That was the original.
The original was. a
The original was
co-location.
a co-location.
You remember we had a conversation about how the parking lot only held like 60 spaces?
I didn't even remember the board meeting was here, so.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of conversations about a lot of elections and we're all trying to keep them straight in our brains.
Yeah,
But I will absolutely entertain your motion
okay, good.
to request the temporary polling change for Smyrna 2A to the Smyrna Community Center.
Second,
Yes,
second.
you've moved.
So moved, and then second.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, so moved, seconded by Stacy.
vote,
All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
yay.
Hi.
Aye. And we have 2 absent today, so it passes 3-0, and Smyrna 2A will be at the Smyrna Community Center for December 16th special election runoff for SD 35.
Oh, I think this is where the confusion came in. Oops, proposed co-location, even though it's not a co-location.
Yes, I can see.
That's where the confusion was.
I really wasn't confused. I just wasn't, since I didn't print that out, going to argue about it, but it did say
It
co-locate.
does say that on the memo,
It does,
but
yes.
we're approved for the right thing. without-
We
Oh,
did
I
it,
see it,
we
sorry.
did it, yes, we,
I think that's because the initial memo said co-location, and it just didn't get changed here, but.
you can't keep all this straight, Michael.
Daniel,
good.
Yeah, we're good. And Daniel and I discussed previously that there isn't a need for executive session. Since this is a special called meeting, we don't really have any other business. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, December 2nd at 7 PM here in this office for the municipal runoff election night meeting. And then after that, we will not have a pre-certification because thanks to Ms. Fisher, we were able to get that waived. So then after that will be our regular monthly meeting and certification on Monday, December 8th, and that will be in the Board of Commissioners room. So all of that said, it is 4:29 and this meeting is adjourned.
Okay, that might be a record.